Welcome, my name is Simon Worthington. I'm a researcher from the Open Science Lab at the German National Library of Science and Technology in Hanover. The presentation today is called Rapid Publishing for Public Health Books Against COVID-19, and presenting along with me is Raquel Ulate from Interpunct Studios. Raquel will cover the issues related to multi-format typesetting and using GitHub as a publishing platform. The two case studies that we have to present today both involve trying to overcome the challenges for fully automating multi-format book production and distribution. So the formats involved are ebook, print on demand, screen PDF, webbook, website, and creating a packaged source. The first case study involved the production of 8 book sprints with the Academy for Public Health in Dusseldorf, Germany, and the second case study was related to post-processing a back catalogue of reports and then new reports coming out from a UK group called Independent Sage, which was set up by the former chief scientist to the UK government, Sir David King, in response to the COVID-19 situation. The motivation. We are using the book as a technology and social practice within healthcare knowledge management. For example, the book sprint. We use the book sprint as a method to bring together healthcare professionals to write and publish a textbook collaboratively, which means that knowledge can be updated in real time with full academic quality standards and bypass publishers' slow and expensive workflows. Under normal conditions, a medical expert would have to buy back a copy of a textbook that they had contributed to. But with open licensing and open access, this changes. Now, instead, the book is open and instantly available on GitHub, available as multi-format to read on your mobile, and automatically available via print-on-demand services such as Ingram's Lightning Source service, which distributes onto Amazon and other retailers for next-day print delivery. The vision we have for this future book is one that encompasses open science. So this means going beyond open access and open literature to look at the whole research life cycle and what out of that life cycle can be used in the book. So this means open data, persistent identifiers, taxonomies, linked open data, and also the questions that are there within open science around social justice in terms of equity, in terms of access to knowledge, and also diversity in terms of participation in scholarship. Our major challenges. We have 2 cornerstones to our work. First of all is providing the authors with an online collaborative Word-like environment. We have non-technical writers, so a markdown solution or something won't work for them. The second is that we have to produce 5 output formats that need to be typesetted and validate against the distribution channels. So we call this publication-ready outputs. Making an ebook is not enough. It's got to be an ebook that fully validates against a distribution channel. Wrapped up in that is a number of surrounding challenges. So of course, CSS typesetting is key to that. We choose to use GitHub as a publishing file storage place, as a place to publish to. So how we deal with that. We need to deal with the packaging and manifest issues, the issues that different publication types have different reading orders, and we want to include our open science type considerations. And I would say challenges that we haven't been able to meet yet is the organization and distribution of our metadata and how to automate the multi-channel distribution. There's so many outlets to go to that's something is way over our horizon. The technology stack. We aim to stay within the W3C's open standards framework as much as possible, but not everything is defined there, down to simple things like table captions not being defined in HTML. All of our software is open source. For our web editor, we are using Fidus Writer. For storage and web serving, we are using GitHub, GitHub and GitHub Pages. Of course, we're using ViviaStyle for our main part of our CSS typesetting. We use the Page Media CSS format as our CSS standard. And then for packaging and the manifest, we are using W3C's lightweight packaging format, the publication manifest from the W3C in combination with the Webbook Level 1 unofficial proposal. As a source, we are using XHTML from an uncompressed EPUB, and for interoperability we look to use the Mecha manuscript exchange format, or we have that under consideration. What I want to hand over to Raquel now from Interpunkt, and she's going to take you through the multi-format typesetting and the GitHub as a publishing place.
I am Raquel Ulate, graphic CSS designer from Interpunkt Studios. I have been working on the multi-format typesetting for these health books against COVID. Multi-format typesetting, faster and cheaper. This part of the workflow contains the largest amount of problems to overcome and where the greatest effort has to be applied. The objective is to fully automate the process so that a graphic designer doesn't have to manually lay out each page and the expensive Adobe Toolkit can be removed from the workflow. A designer is still needed to create templates, but as a manual typesetting was removed by desktop publishing in 1980s, so the book designer role will change again. We are looking to see if we can create a bootstrap-like model of designing where the designer can work with a set of code libraries, but this is still a long way off. One such a project was Bleach ebook framework, but now discontinued. We have to use 3 typesetting tracks: ebook, CSS typesetting for web, PDF and POD, and website webbook typesetting. A major issue is that the book becomes unstable and complex when it becomes a multi-format, and the publishing industries and the standard bodies have done very little to resolve the situations. In fact, they have hindered the situation with little care for the book as a technical object. What are covers? What is a table of contents? How to exclude items from the talk? What is a page? Does the web browser support hyphenation in my language? Why do tables not have table descriptions? Have image replacement for tables that can display in ebooks? How to get references to displays as end of page, end of chapter, end of book as a pop-up? GitHub as a publishing platform. Our way forward, after a series of messy experiments, is to use an uncompressed EPUB file on GitHub that contains multiple HTML files. The EPUB will be modified to comply with the Webbook Level 1 unofficial proposal packaging. Then we use Page Media CSS to render the book via GitHub Pages using BiblioStyle typesetting JavaScript. The BiblioStyle setup allowed us to save a PDF from Chrome browser back to GitHub. These same HTML files can simultaneously render a website on GitHub Pages. The EPUB is generated straight out of GitHub from Fidus Writer. The current process has some manual steps such as browser PDF rendering. The beauty of using GitHub as a publishing location is that it's free on the open web and leverages a huge infrastructure. Git or GitLab also can be used.
Packaging and manifest. A book by definition is a discrete object that needs some bounding, but how is this maintained on the open web? This is where open standards should come into play, but it appears that there's no clear standard that has been adopted, either as de jure or de facto standards yet. The primary objective of packaging is to keep everything intrinsic to a book in one place, together. Sounds simple, but it can be hard to know where to make the boundaries with something that needs to exist over time. Currently, we have adopted Webbook Level 1, the unofficial proposal for packaging from Daniel Gladsman, co-chair 2008-15 of the W3C's CSS Working Group. The approach would be combined with the W3C's publication manifest and be informed by the W3C's lightweight packaging format. These types of conventions are needed, we think, to allow for more complexity and for media and data types and data sources to be used, such as is the case in our area of open science. At a very basic level, we simply need different reading orders in the manifest and to make some content only available in certain formats, like for example the back cover only needs to be available in print on demand and not in ebook. Metadata and content distribution. Now, as you can see through our work and our research, our interests are in the automation of the publishing workflows. Our focus has been on the typesetting and producing publication-ready outputs, files that are validated for our different multi-channel distribution. But in the area of metadata and content distribution, most of what we do is manual at the moment. We face challenges in terms of with metadata, in terms of authoring, storing, and distributing, and similarly with our content in terms of going out to trade and academic channels. Now, we have had one kind of interesting success, which is really the simple use of GitHub and GitHub Pages. Through GitHub Pages generation of a free website, we can put in the links to the other formats. So in terms of someone making a publication that is open on the web, that works well. But in terms of going out into retail channels, print on demand, and being visible and also addressing long-term preservation issues, we have to do those manually. Semantic publishing. Our next challenges, which are just over the horizon, are bundled up in a term that we have adopted of semantic publishing. This covers the structure of the parts of a book and the digital objects it might contain. It also includes the inference of meaning and being machine readable. For academic purposes, this means using DOIs to isolate chapters, for example, or DOI sharding to go down to a page or maybe even a string of text, or to identify images or data being used in a publication. We will use different types of media. For example, from TIB's AV portal, which uses semantic video, as well as image deep zooming using IIIF, 3D images and simulations, such as in terms of data science practices that are carried out in Jupyter Notebooks. We would also use Wikidata and Wikibase to create linked open data representations of a publication. And also in the open science field, there are what are called computational publishing practices, which involves an even further advanced form of packaging where an actual computational environment is packaged, such as creating a virtual machine for a Kubernetes cluster, as is done with Jupyter Books and Mindbinder on the web. So these are concerns that are, further down the road, but important to flag up as being research interests of ours. In conclusion, What is described in the case studies is a work in progress, but it's definitely one that has moved beyond a proof of concept. The major issues around automated multi-format typesetting and using GitHub as a publishing platform have been identified and are being resolved. And really what I have to say is really to give credit to my TIB and Academy colleagues, as well as to members of FidusWriter and the VideoStyle team, and of course to Interpunk Studios. And thanks also goes out to Axel Dorkop of Modern Publishing from the program of Hamburg's Open Science, as well as Daniel from MJT, Darren from Cool.org, and Lisa and Johannes, last and not least, from Endocode. So thank you.